22 shooting houses, around that same number of feeders. If you want to hunt by a creek, you can do that. If you want a big food plot that you can see 400 yards and you're a long range shooter, we got that too.
Yeah.
So if you want to, be in a little tight corridor bow hunt, you can do that. Or hang out on the edge of the duck pond and shoot ducks.
That's what I want to do. Yeah.
Welcome to the LandTrust Podcast, where land, technology, and the outdoors meet. Whether you're a landowner, an outdoor enthusiast, or someone curious about the future of recreation on private land, you're in the right place. Each episode, we share real stories from the LandTrust community, from unforgettable guest experiences to conversations with landowners about their land and why they choose to share it, plus interviews with leaders, shaping how we all experience the outdoors. And now, here's your host, Nick DeCastro.
Welcome to the LandTrust Podcast, where land, technology, and the outdoors come together. This episode is part of our new Landowner Spotlight series, where we chat with landowners who've just recently listed their land on LandTrust. Today's guest is Will Dixon, an Alabama native based in Eufaula with deep roots in the timber and forestry products industry, a family legacy that dates back to 1928. With a lifelong connection to the land and a strong stewardship mindset, Will brings both tradition and experience to his property. Blue Springs Plantation is as scenic and storied as it is inviting, offering guests a chance to experience classic Southern hunting with opportunities for deer, turkey, waterfowl in a peaceful, well-managed setting. Will, welcome to the show.
Hey, great to be here.
Yeah. So as we kind of talked about in the start here, very new to the platform.
Yeah.
So I think we were introduced, maybe a month ago, something like
that. Maybe just around there.
Yeah. And we were introduced by a mutual friend of ours, out of Dothan, and he's been awesome. Just kind of Dean with the Wiregrass and Hudson Alpha has been really great, introducing us to folks like yourself and just kind of evangelizing about LandTrust. So I guess kind of, a part of this series is about for other landowners who have been thinking about LandTrust, like they've heard of us. Obviously, these things are always family decisions, and it's never just like one person gets to say, yes, I want to try.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it's helpful to hear someone who has just recently kind of gone through the evaluation process to actually saying, yep, we're going to give it a try. Like, how has it been so far? And, what's been your experience?
It's been great so far. I mean, really was, with your help and with, the people on your team, it's been real easy to do. And kind of what piqued my interest about LandTrust. We're in the land management business, and a big source of our revenue are hunting leases. The recreational draw for hunting land has grown tremendously since COVID. When we looked at this Blue Springs Plantation property, I had a bigger vision for it than just our typical annual lease model. And when Dean put me in contact with you and told me a little about LandTrust, I was like, this could be perfect for this.
Yeah.
Because it's such a beautiful property. It has so much to offer. And partnering with LandTrust, I thought would be the best way to leverage it and really get as many people out there to enjoy it.
Yeah.
So working with LandTrust and getting everything set up, as far as getting the listing up and running, relied on y'all heavily because I've never done anything like this.
Yeah.
So it was very uncharted territory for me. Josh Roberts was a big help throughout the whole process. Yeah. We had multiple phone calls, just kind of brainstorming ideas about how we would do different packages and, listing posts and, him updating me in the process, was all real seamless. And it took us, a couple weeks to get everything tinkering it how we wanted it.
Yep.
And, I'm not a one-man show.
Of course,
it's a family operation.
Yeah.
And, and with family operations, it can be challenging sometimes, branching off in a different direction and doing something new.
Yeah.
So, LandTrust, that was a new thing for us. And, it took a bit of convincing on my end, but, because it was so easy and so seamless with LandTrust and y'all provided such great information and, we're available to chat whenever, doing this transition and, kind of pivoting to something new, made it pretty easy.
Yeah. No, that's great background. And you're a younger guy.
Mm-hmm.
So, look, we work with, 1.5 million acres or so in 40 something states and, predominantly multi-generation kind of agricultural operations.
Yeah.
And so, every single one of our landowners has the exact same thing. There's not one decision maker. It is a family thing.
Mm-hmm.
There are people who are, you'd be like the champion internally, and then there's naysayers, and then there's, we see this every single time.
Yeah.
Because it's it's a huge asset. Land is not like renting an apartment, on short-term rental website. Mm-hmm. It's very different. Okay, so we'll step back before we get to the actual property and just kind of like tell us a little bit more about your family and just kind of that background there.
Sure. Yeah. So my family, the Dixon family in Eufaula, has been in the forestry business for almost 100 years. I'm fourth generation. We've done everything from operating a sawmill to the logging business. Now we're, predominantly just in land management. We manage just shy of 20,000 acres in Alabama, some in Georgia. And it's really been great. I've been on board for about a year and a half after I graduated college. But we touched on it earlier, it's a family deal. And, being in a type of family business like this, it has its challenges, but it's so rewarding. It really is. I get to spend every day with my grandfather. That's and, cool. Picking his brain and him advising me and learning from him. It's so rewarding, and, I wouldn't change it for the world, despite it can be a headache sometimes.
Yeah.
So yeah, we're primarily in the land management business right now. And historically that has been managing, growing and harvesting timber. And I touched on it briefly, but really there's been a big shift in our area, especially in our region since COVID, where a lot of the value in land now is derived from the recreational aspect of it. Hunting, fishing, just being out there on the land and enjoying it. So we've looked for ways to kind of expand what we do and really leverage the hunting and recreational aspect of our land holdings. And I think we've done a really good job of it. And I think, partnering with LandTrust on this Blue Springs property is just the natural next step for it.
Yeah. It's really interesting to hear from that perspective. Again, kind of LandTrust beginnings. I started the company in Montana. We were talking before we hopped on here how you lived in Bozeman for a couple of years after college, and I lived up there for 8 years or so. I started this company in 2019 there. So Western kind of origins, and so most of our landowners were either ranch or farm. Mm-hmm. And then, when my family and I decided to move down here 2 Septembers ago, it's been about a year and a half or so. Obviously, the Southeast is a lot of timber. And so it's a kind of a different landowner base in some ways, and then very similar in others, right?
Yeah.
Multi-generation operations. I always say, our landowners are the best. So what I love doing with the business, and they're all different in their own ways and their stories, and they're all the same. So they have very common threads through them too. But to hear that in the timber space specifically, that timber markets, just like cattle markets, just like other commodity markets,
they fluctuate,
go up and down, and it's interesting to hear kind of land use and the perspective of landowners who are managing a significant tract of timber, that recreation is actually in the portfolio of how you make money off your land is rising.
Yeah,
it's I don't know, is it number one or number two or number three?
It's not number one now.
Which makes sense. Yeah,
timber is still our biggest source of revenue and cash flow, and it's our business model.
Yep.
We're in the timber business.
Yeah.
But land and recreation and hunting leases and that type of thing has grown drastically in the last 5 years, to where it used to be kind of like 10, 15 years ago, it was a nice little add-on to pay property taxes.
Right. Yeah.
Now it's turned into a whole different thing.
Yeah.
Now it is really the number two, cash flow producing, thing we do.
Wow.
And it's grown into a bigger portion of our portfolio.
Yep.
And really, without a lot of, designed management on our side, because a lot of our holdings, it's industrial timberland.
Yeah.
It always has been. That's what it's for. And we typically do just a normal annual lease model.
Yep.
But because the properties, you got say you got a 150 acre tract.
Yeah.
Well, 110 of it's just going to be in loblolly pine.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's kind of hard to leverage something like that for,
right.
Real robust hunting experience. But looking at this Blue Springs property, which is new in our portfolio, it offers so much more than that. It's got diversity as far as hardwood bottoms, different age classes of pine. There's a 20-acre pond on it. The infrastructure of the road system's great. So looking at it, I was like, this is such a beautiful property. We need to put some real effort into this as far as getting people out here that love hunting, that's their passion, so they can experience this and we can share it with a bunch of other people.
Yeah.
Because we're not in the business to just kind of hold all this to ourselves.
Yeah.
And, you know, oh, this is ours. No one can come out here.
Right.
Like I want everybody to come make a memory out here and enjoy the land and share it with people.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
We're talking about legacy here. With land, it's not, you know, some condo that you rent down at the beach and it's kind of this like, it's a commodity asset. You're listed on 5 different sites and there's no emotional connection there really. It's just like, hey, cool, it's a real estate asset.
Yeah.
Land is very different, and especially for multi-generation landowners who, like, a lot of them are owner operators where they live and work on that ground.
Absolutely.
That's more than just an asset per se. And we've seen it over the years where these landowners, I think, begin listing with us because they get to, you know, historically, if you wanted to make money from the recreational value of your land, it was pretty much hunting leases, right? You know, in rare cases, there might be other recreational things at least, but it's really just hunting. And it was annual or multi-year leases to individuals or outfitters or clubs. And, you know, that will always exist. I'm not saying it won't. But especially for kind of owner operators, it just wasn't the right size transaction because effectively you're selling your property right away for a period of time.
Sure.
So, and often the family members, the friends, the neighbors, the business partners, the kid down the street want to use it to some extent, right? It's like, hey, well, we do like to hunt some. We're not out there, you know, 500 days a year or whatever, but we'd like to still use it. But if you lease it, you can't really do that.
Sure.
And so the transaction size was the wrong size. And so this short-term model worked really well. And they can say, hey, look, we like turkey hunting because we're in the South, but we got whitetails and we got waterfowl and we got a pond you can fish bass in and no big deal. So they can really make it fit, you know, their family's operation in a way. And frankly, just like in the kind of short-term real estate market, you actually make more money as the asset owner from a short-term model than you do from a long-term. Now, there will always be long-term leases for things like clubs. And there's just guys out there who like lease ground and they love putting the food plots. They like
doing the work themselves.
Yeah. Yes. And honestly, they like that almost more than the hunting, frankly.
Yes, they do.
So just like short-term rentals is not going to kill hotels. They're different use cases and the same people can use both. Like when I travel for work, I want to stay at a hotel. I want to have like, you know, the restaurant and clean my room and all that.
Yeah.
When I travel with my 3 children and my wife, I want to stay at an Airbnb. I want to be able to cook. I want them to have their own rooms. Yeah. So it's very similar. I think I know guys personally who have their lease or they're part of a club down here, which clubs are not a thing in the West. But we always want to go do new stuff. So they want to go out West or they want to travel to another state to chase a new subspecies of turkey or whatever. So it's not either or, it's and. But for a lot of landowners, the short-term model has a lot of benefits. But there's always going to be use cases for landowners where, you know, especially if you're, you know, big corporate timber company and you've never seen most of the ground you owned, you know, it's just kind of like a portfolio. Long-term leases may be easier because there's no management per se. There's a little bit of management, but you're not having to actively do anything. Yeah. So that trade-off works for them really well. I don't know if that rings true or not to you.
No, it definitely does. And that is a big, like our annual lease model is what we've always done. It's our bread and butter as far as hunting leases go. And you've touched on several things you touched on. It's less management for us because a lot of the guys that we lease to, you know, they get as much enjoyment out of going out there, spending time, putting in food plots, you know, working on the roads as they do hunting. Yeah. Which works great for us because it's less management for us. And then they get value of it too. But like you said, the short-term lease model, you know, on site-specific areas, I think makes so much sense. And you touched on it too about legacy. Like I wear a bunch of different hats because it's a family business. You have to. And so there are days that there's an attachment to it, like you said, where it's not just, you know, some real estate portfolio, multifamily down in Destin or whatever that we rent out for cash flow. Like I'm out there, one day I'll be on a tractor, you know, bush hogging, or I'll be lighting a prescribed burn, or the next day I'll be in the office. So so I'm out there on the land a lot. So there's an attachment to it that you gain, and you want to look after it, and you want to, you know, make sure that it's cared for in the best way possible. And with the short-term model like this, I think it gives us a better opportunity for us to do that. We can kind of keep our thumb on the pulse of the property and really kind of curate it and cultivate it how we want it to be, and to provide the different experiences that we want to do.
Well, I've heard you say that a couple times in this, which is you want to let a lot of people enjoy it, right? In a controlled manner. And you want to be able to make money from that, which is obviously these things are, they cost money. You pay tax.
Well, that's life.
Yeah, it's just life. And it's kind of frustrating in the hunting world. Some people are just like, I want it for free. You're like, okay, well, I mean, what other things do you love to do that are free?
Yeah,
you know,
exactly.
like, I don't know.
Yeah.
But, you know, I can speak to this very directly. I mean, that's why I started the business. I found myself, I was in the West, I was in Montana. It has a ton of public land, and public land is awesome. It's not like a public or private, it's both. It's all great. But there was places in and around town in Bozeman, I mean, right along the river, whatever, like amazing ground. I just found myself saying, well, I'd be happy to pay that landowner to go and fish for the day or hunt for the weekend or whatever. And realizing that they steward ground, and that's why it's really desirable ground, you know, from a hunting or fishing perspective, because they're good stewards, and it also costs money. So it's like, I don't expect this for free.
Sure.
You know, and so that was kind of, and frankly, you know, the days of door knocking and just every landowner says, go get them. It's just, that's been gone for a long time. I would have not started the business if every door you knocked on was like, yeah, go get them.
Yeah.
And there's a myriad reasons for why that's changed. There's land ownership change. There's less supply. There's less ag ground today than there was 50 years ago by a lot. We're losing a ton of ag ground every day because it's, you know, hard to make money from. And you lose it to development and whatnot. So there's shrinking supply and relatively static or growing demand. Obviously, there's going to be more competition. But, you know, I just took my daughter out. She killed her first deer. She's 6 years old. And that would only be possible if or through private landowners opening up their ground. Like, I'm not taking my 6-year-old daughter out deer hunting on public land once a season and having that kind of opportunity. No. It's just not going to happen. No. Now, if you're diehard, like if I was out in the woods all the time, which I can't be, I'm running a business and I got a family and all that stuff. So realistically, you know, my daughter is not having those experiences, and I'm not having those with her unless private landowners are willing to open up their land. Again, I'm, you know, paid for the opportunity to do it, but it really is something that would be very difficult to do. If not for landowners like yourself and your family and all the other families that list on LandTrust to say, hey, come and do this here.
And especially in the South.
Right.
Like you hit on it. In Montana, there's a lot of public land. And there's great hunting on public land in Montana. When I lived out there, I did a ton of public land hunting.
Right.
Alabama's a little different. There's not these just vast swaths of public land that anybody can go out there and you buy your tag and you go and, you know, it's a lot of private landowners, and with, you know, and a lot of it is annual lease models. You lease to one guy or a group of guys, and it's their lease. You know, they kind of feel like it's their land because they're putting a lot of effort, a lot of sweat equity into it. But what that does, like you said, there's a shrinking supply, there's a growing demand, and then so that limits the possibilities for, like you said, you and your daughter, her getting her first deer. And then something like, because we want to share this property with as many people as we can and provide experiences like that, because that's stuff that you remember. Like, you're going to remember forever. You and your daughter going and harvesting that deer, and she's going to remember spending time with her dad out there and doing it.
Yeah, that's it. And you know, she's 6. We need a box blind. You need some of this infrastructure that is not going to be available to us on public land, and, you know, no competition, right? So that's the other thing, which is, I'm not going to take her out, you know, during rifle season on public land. I'm just not at 6 years old. I'm not doing that. And so, you know, having access to quality private land with some infrastructure like shooting house or, you know, box blinds. And, you know, one of the places we went in Florida, they had a golf cart that you could use. And she loved that as well. And feeders and all these things. These are amenities or infrastructure that makes it accessible for a really young hunter. Again, it's not to say that, you know, I went hunting at 3 or 4 years old with my dad in the desert, 120-degree heat. You can do it, but it's becoming harder and harder to do because of shrinking supply and growing demand. So, yeah, I mean, I know for a fact, and I'm not going to annual lease something right now. It doesn't make sense for this stage of my life. I get to hunt a handful of days a year, which is ironic because I facilitate thousands and thousands of people going hunting on hunting trips and growing every year, but I get to go very little just because of stage of life.
Sure.
And I think that's the other thing too, is on the sportsman side, the transaction on a short-term model makes a lot more sense too. Again, setting aside the guys who just love the land management aspect, which is great. Like, they want to lease something because they like that almost as much as they like hunting. Awesome.
That's not for everybody.
It's really not, right? It's just not. And, for me, it's like, cool, I'm going to get to go hunt. I might get to do 1 or 2 deer hunts for 2 days at a time. And I might get to do a turkey hunt and whatnot. I'll just pay you for the handful of days I'm going out there. I don't need to lease the ground and let other people go out there too. So it really is kind of like the right size transaction, what we found for a lot of folks on both sides. All right, so let's get into the actual property itself. So we've mentioned the name a few times. So Blue Springs Plantation. Share with me kind of what the property is like and where it's at and all that good stuff.
Sure, yeah. So Blue Springs Plantation, around 870 acres, actually 870 on the dot, located in Blue Springs, Alabama. That's obviously where the name came from. It's a new property for us. We actually just purchased it in January. We're happy to, we work with a really good real estate team that's been, with us for a little over a year now. And, they helped put the deal together and we couldn't be happier with how it turned out. But when we first got into looking at it and, should we buy this, looking at it, it didn't look like a lot of our holdings. It wasn't that industrial timber tract.
Yeah.
It was really and truly a rec tract. Like the previous owners had done a great job of stewarding it and taking care of it for the last, decade and a half. And it was their private family hunting land. And it looked like it because they took a lot of time and effort into building it into what it is now. It has a lot of really good features to it. Several different age classes of pine stand. Nice. Think about your nice quail plantation.
Yeah.
That's with the sage grass underneath. It's got that. It's got your nice hardwood bottoms for your deer hunting. It's got creeks. It's got a 22-acre duck pond. So it really was like the total package. And so thinking about it, I was like, wow, there's so much we can do with this. This is it's not like a lot of other stuff we had, but it paired real well for us because we have done similar things with other land. Now, it's not what we do all the time, but we have our family hunt land, Cross Creek Plantation, which is essentially the same thing as Blue Springs.
Yeah.
So we, I'll go out there, my uncle will go out there, we'll run the tractor, we'll run the bush hog, we'll disc it, we'll burn, do all the land management stuff. So we kind of know what we're doing. And so looking at that, I was like, we should do this out here, but we already have our family hunting land. We don't need this. Let's open this up. And when I found about LandTrust, let's open this up to these short-term hunting lease models so that we can get a bunch of people out here to really come out here and enjoy it.
Yeah.
And get to experience it. Because to us, I live in that area of the world. And people that live in that area of the world, it's kind of second nature. It's what you do. We're used to going out there and deer hunting, but people can come from all over that aren't used to it. They live in a city or they can't get out here and do it. They don't have the access to the land. Well, now this provides an opportunity for them. Yeah. So we're really excited about that. And
the infrastructure, you can tell it's very well set up. I think there's 20 or 22.
Yeah, it's 22 shooting houses, around that same number of feeders, around 22 food plots too that have been, that will be planted every year. It's a bunch of different areas if you want to hunt by a creek, you can do that. If you want a big food plot that you can see 400 yards and you're a long range shooter, we got that too.
Yeah.
So if you want to, be in a little tight corridor bow hunting, you can do that. Or hang out on the edge of the duck pond and shoot ducks.
That's what I want to do. Yeah. I told you when this was coming on, I've got a very busy few weeks ahead of me, but I was really hoping, and I still hope I am going to be able to get up there for turkeys with my daughter, because after she killed that deer, she's like, turkey season's next. Okay. So I'm hoping to get up there soon. I know there is a camp house, but I think you guys you're gonna be redoing a little bit of it, right?
Yeah. So there is a 3-bedroom, 2-bath cabin on the property. It's currently not available for lodging. We're doing some renovations to it. Tweaking a few things here and there. It was in good shape, but there's just some stuff we want to do first. But renovations should be done, hopefully in the next month or two. So unfortunately, we'll miss that turkey season window, but we'll be ready to go for deer season, ready to go for all that. It'll be ready for the summer.
Yeah.
So
for fishing or whatnot.
And the cool thing about where the property is located, So it's located in Blue Springs, Alabama, in between Blue Springs and Clio, Alabama. So really small area of Barber County, but it's 1.5 miles from Blue Springs State Park, which is this natural cold spring.
Oh, cool. I didn't know about that.
Oh, it's awesome. Yeah. So we actually grew up, going out there. It's 105 degrees in the summertime.
Yeah.
You take a dip in the cold spring. And they got restaurants nearby and stuff. So there's all kinds of stuff to do if you just kind of like
real nearby. Yeah.
Real nearby. If you kind of like just branch out a little bit and look for it. It's really a hidden gem in Barber County.
That's awesome.
That area.
In the short term, so for this turkey season, are you allowing guys to have, like, if they have a camper or trailer or something like that?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Right. So there's plenty of room to set up a camper, trailer, RV, any type of deal if you want to stay on property.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, the house just isn't quite ready.
That makes
yet.
sense. Yeah.
There are hotels relatively close nearby.
Sure.
You can do that too. I know we have some bookings already for the start of turkey season.
Yep.
And they're going to be in hotels nearby. So that is available. Obviously, staying on properties
is the best, right? Yeah, waking up and rolling out is ideal. But and that'll be for this coming season too, and for deer season.
Yeah, and we're so eager to get that house exactly how we want it.
Yeah.
Because we don't want to. We could have just opened it up and had lodging immediately. It's not like the house was in disrepair; it was in good shape.
Yeah,
but kind of in a similar, you want
to be intentional
of the rest of the property. Yeah. We want to get it to how we want it to look and how we want it to be, so that the people can enjoy the best possible experience.
Yeah, that's awesome. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm really curious to see. I got a dog right now who's in training, just about a half an hour from here, a new fox red lab, mm-hmm. and waterfowl is high on the list. So I'm mm-hmm. curious to see how that property performs from a waterfowl perspective, because that is, I like doing all of it. But hunting with a dog, I grew up bird hunting over Brittany's. I grew up hunting quail in the deserts of Southern California. So bird hunting has always been kind of like the near and dear thing, because working with dogs. If you're a dog guy, like that's the most interesting thing that's happening there.
Yeah, no, I totally relate to that. Bird hunting is my bread and butter. Ducks and turkeys. And I like deer hunting, but there's something about that turkey hunt.
Oh yeah.
You're communicating with the bird, and you're moving around and you're being strategic about it.
Yes.
That is just such a pure aspect of hunting to me. And I think this property is just set up so well for it.
I'm curious. I feel like I remember something about bobwhites. Is that property going to have quail? Does it have quail?
It has some natural quail. Now, obviously, natural quail in Alabama and in this southeast region is very, very, the population's just been decimated.
Yeah, you just want to be very careful with them.
Yeah. So, no. Quail that is something we're working on currently. There's a lot of logistics involved in quail hunts. Yeah. So we're kind of ironing out those details now to hopefully get the quail packages up and running, by fall.
Yeah.
And, because, it'll be released birds. And that's just how it has to be. Before, hopefully we can establish a population eventually.
Awesome,
but that's going to take a few years.
Yeah.
And it's going to take
a lot of intentional
establishing
management.
the habitat first.
Right.
And that's what we're working on first. So we're actually conducting prescribed burns next week.
Awesome.
After that, we will do a second thinning on this pine stand, opening it up, making it even, better for quail. So you get that nice, pretty golden sage in there, with, annual burns to really, facilitate that habitat. And then once the habitat is there, then we'll move into offering the quail packages, because that's so much fun.
I've never done a southern. I've never hunted bobwhites, and I've never done like the southern kind of like plantation style quail hunt. So it's something it's on the to-do list for me, but I've never done it. Quail hunting for me has always been in deserts or kind of like that more mountainous stuff. So it's very, very different.
Yeah.
Well, great, man. The other thing too is from one of the partnerships we have is with Tacticam for reveal cameras.
Yeah.
So I'm sure there's already quite a few cams out there, but for landowners listening, game camera photos and videos, kind of the best way to sell. If you've got hunting packages, nothing sells a hunt better than like frequent or recent game camera photos of whether turkeys or deer, waterfowl or whatever. So it is something that we're getting our landowners like a pretty good discount on hardware and on the actual kind of, because they're cellular cams, which are really nice.
Yeah.
So I'm sure there's a bunch out there probably already.
There are, but I mean, we need more.
Yeah.
We need more.
Yeah, it's a big property.
Big property.
Yeah.
You know, and there's a lot of areas. So,
yeah. And especially I was up in oh gosh, it's about an hour and 10 minutes north of here. I'm blanking on the name of the place right now. Visiting a farm up there, and they were showing video of wood ducks coming in and just like swimming all around.
Yeah.
So like even for waterfowl, the right placement of game cameras is awesome. And then those will all be used. We push them out through what we call field notes. So that way sportsmen can follow like Blue Springs Plantation and just get like, whenever we're pushing kind of game camera photos or property updates, hey, the camp house is now available for booking for it. They can follow it and get those kind of like broadcasted updates.
And the cams are great to kind of show what's out there, like you said, on the listings and,
that's right.
you know, generating interest. But it's also a big tool for us.
It's a management tool.
To know where the traffic is, where the deer are going, where the turkeys are going, when the ducks come in. Because one of the things that I've enjoyed, you know, once we, you know, got the listing posted, is kind of communicating with the people that are booking.
Yeah.
And talking back and forth with them. I didn't really anticipate that, but I've really enjoyed facilitating, you know, the stay and saying, hey, you should go check out this area.
Right.
This is where you need to set up for the turkey hunt. I've been here and I'm here, you know, and just giving them the best possible opportunity to have that special hunt and that experience. And, you know, I can't do that if I don't know where
that's right.
the birds are or where the deer are. You know? Yeah.
No, it's interesting. So how is it like on a just kind of like technical basis? How has it been getting your first? You're in this interesting period where you just listed and you've received your first inquiries and booking requests. So for landowners listening, people can't just book your place. It's not like a hotel.
Yeah.
They've got to make a request.
Yeah.
And you can talk to them on the phone. You know, you just feel them out. And if it's the right fit, great. You can accept a booking request or you can decline it for whatever reasons you want. You're in control. So how's it been like? You getting text messages? Like, how's it been just on a day-to-day basis, getting some inquiries and some bookings going now?
Yeah, it's been, you know, pretty straightforward as far as the communication, you know, communicating, you know, through the LandTrust website and messaging back and forth. Usually, you know, you'll reach out. What's happened, you know, from our experience, they reach out, you know, they ask, you know, a few questions, you know, how many birds were harvested last year? You know, what can I expect? What type of the time of the year are the birds gobbling, that type of deal. And then I can answer back, kind of feel them out.
Yeah.
And then, you know, they put in a booking request. Like you said, I can choose to accept or decline that request based on how I feel.
Yep.
But it's been a really cool experience, just kind of, you know, sharing my knowledge of the property and, you know, my knowledge of, you know, regional hunting. And, you know, because I grew up turkey hunting and duck hunting. So I feel like I can, you know, provide good advice on what to expect, what to do. You know, I've had, you know, people reach out and say, when's the best time to come? And I've always said, turkey season, early as possible.
Yeah.
That is the best time for turkey season. Because once it gets hot, the birds get quiet.
Yeah.
So
just harder to hunt.
Yeah. And, you know, I'm happy to do that because I enjoy, you know, providing that experience. And I want, you know, people that are paying good money, hard money.
That's right.
And especially, you know, times are tough now.
Yeah.
They're spending time and effort to come down here. And I want to give them the best chance to succeed and provide the best possible experience. And I'm happy to do it.
Yeah. So from a product, I would put my product hat on. From a product hat, so are you, when you get your inquiries, you get a text message?
Yeah. So
do you like to text back and forth or do you like to use the website?
I typically, I've done both.
Yeah.
Typically, I like to keep it all on the website.
Yeah.
Just for simplicity's sake.
Yep.
but sometimes like I'm on the go, you know, it's I can just text back too. So it's nice. Kind of what he's saying. Yeah. You get the inquiry and it shows up on my phone. I get an email about it. So I'm notified right away. I can't miss it.
Yeah.
Which is really nice because I don't have to constantly check the inbox to make sure I'm not missing anything. Like I get a notification and I can text back directly or I can use the website. So that part has been super straightforward.
Depends if you're in the office or out.
Yeah, because a lot of times, I'm in the office, you know, a good amount, but then there's also times where I'm on a tractor or something, you know, and I can easily just, you know, stop the tractor, pull my phone out, respond to something, and then, you know, keep going. You know? So it's really, really seamless and straightforward. It's not a big headache at all.
Yeah, we found that when we rolled out the SMS, the text messaging piece, because most of our landowners are working, they're on the back of a tractor, or, you know, they're on a tractor most of the time. So being able to text rather than having to log in. But if you do find yourself with office work more often, then the website's easy too.
Yeah.
And for sportsmen too, this is kind of like the perfect middle ground. It's not guided because a lot of people don't want guided. Nothing against guides or outfitters at all. Like they're great and they're great service providers. But there's a lot of folks who just say, I just want to do it myself. I just want access. But this is the great middle ground where you're like, well, I also have intel that I can share with you. So you're not just showing up cold. The landowners are very familiar with their ground, and they can tell you kind of how the place works. And then you can go you can go do it yourself.
Yeah.
So it is that really.
And I don't have the time to guide.
I
just can't do it.
Some landowners do really enjoy it in different states. In Montana, guiding is regulated. Like you cannot guide people if you're not a licensed outfitter or guide.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah.
I didn't know that.
It's very, very regulated. So in the West, there's a lot of states where when you say guide, that's a legal term. And so, that's why we started just totally DIY. But down, in a lot of other states, some landowners say, hey, look, we'll take you out and kind of semi-guide you around or whatever. So it is really nice from that perspective.
Which is kind of, as soon as we hope to get, the quail hunting up online by fall, but that's going to be obviously the nature of quail hunting in the Southeast. That's guided hunt.
Yep.
You got to have your guides, you got to have your bird dogs.
Yeah.
So it's the DIY stuff, the turkey, the deer, the ducks, but also those quail packages too. So it's kind of a mixture of both in some degree as far as that goes.
Now, if guys do have for quail, I'm thinking of one of my investors specifically here in Fairhope. He's got a great bird dog. If guys do have their own kind of quail dogs, I wonder, will you allow for people to have their own quail dogs, or do you think it'll be?
So we're still kind of working through all the details and ironing how exactly it's going to look. Yeah. Like I said, we got to establish the habitat.
Yeah, there's a bunch of work to be done.
Yeah. But I don't see why not.
Yeah.
If a guy, if he's got his own dog and, he's got some experience, and it's a part of that process of, inquiries and stuff, it's great because you can kind of feel out, the person, thinking about booking and kind of see what they're interested in and see how it fits with you. So that can help with the process.
Yeah. Are you super experienced and, for sure.
Yeah. And we don't want to have, no one wants to come somewhere where there's all these rules and, you feel like you're restricted.
Yeah.
So being able to kind of make it, on a person by person basis and kind of feel out them individually and, cultivating and curating the product to exactly what they're wanting and what they're seeking, that messaging aspect of the inquiry process is great for that.
Yeah, just understanding what experience are you looking for. And it's totally fine if it's not the type of experience we're willing to offer. And that's what marketplaces are good at. Hey, you go on Airbnb, you can rent anything from a $20 a night hostel to a $20,000 a night castle, right? So there's something for everyone. And it's just making sure that the right person finds the right type of experience they're looking for. And it might not be on your property. It might be looking for something different. So, well, great, man. This has been an awesome conversation. I don't know if there's any kind of parting thoughts, what you're hoping to gain out of it, or, the types of folks you're looking to host, but really enjoy the conversation.
Yeah, me too. No, it's great to be on here. Really, and I've been harping on it the whole time, is we're looking to provide that experience, that once in a lifetime experience for people to come down and enjoy it. So, and LandTrust, it seems like it's great for this. We want people that love doing this to come down and have a great time and say, man, that was awesome.
Yeah.
I can't wait to come back. I can't wait to tell my friend how great it was.
We're booking next year.
We're booking next year.
Yeah.
Because then I see him again next year. And I'm like, hey, how's it going? Man, it's so great to see you again.
Yeah.
That's what we're all about.
We've seen that so many. Now we're 6.5 years in. And we just see they finish a trip and they're booking almost immediately again for the following year. So they're kind of those relationships are built. Yeah. And it's not, yes, there is a financial transaction happening, but it's not transactional. When you read the reviews from sportsmen to landowners and landowners to sportsmen, I mean, they're like paragraphs.
Yeah.
It's just how cool it was to meet each other and the family story and the land, and the landowner is oh, it was cool to meet these guys from Oklahoma and hear their story. So there's a ton of relationship. Yes, it's around a transaction, but it's not transactional in that kind of sense.
Yeah. And really, if we approached it from that transactional perspective, it would do more harm to us.
Right.
Because no one wants that. We want to build the relationships. We want to provide the great experiences because that's fulfilling in and of itself.
Right.
Because we're getting something out of it. They're getting something out of it. If we're just in it for the money, well, it's going to be a negative impact on us too.
Totally.
So,
yeah. All right, man. Well, I appreciate having you on.
Yeah. One more thing I do want to add. We're working on doing some social media stuff. So if you want to follow Blue Springs Plantation, you can find it on Instagram, Blue Springs Plantation _. That's the account. So awesome. We post updates, pictures of wildlife and, updates to the property, ongoing work, that type of thing.
Great.
You can check it out there.
That'll all be good content. We'll probably grab some of that too and put it to as field note updates for the property. So for sportsmen out there, it's Blue Springs Plantation. So just go to LandTrust.com, search for that. Offering currently spring turkeys, deer hunts, waterfowl, fishing, and just kind of like, I think,
general recreation,
summertime,
skeet shooting, ATV riding.
Yeah, so just fun stuff in the summertime. And if you follow that listing, whenever there's updates like that, property updates, you'll get notified too. So, all right, Will, appreciate you.
Yeah, thank you.